Welcome to this topic, Alternatives to Herbicides. In this topic, we will explore what is a weed, an herbicide, and weed control. We will look into the alternatives of herbicides in detail, and we will define the integrated weed management strategy. Finally, we will identify the benefits of non-herbicide weed control, the challenges, limitations, and some research, innovation, and policy recommendations. This is an important topic in sustainable agriculture, ecologically sound alternatives to chemical herbicides, with a special spotlight on viticulture or grape growing. Rather than relying solely on synthetic chemicals, we're exploring innovative, practical strategies to manage weeds in a way that protects the environment and human health. Through this journey, you'll learn about three major approaches: biological control, using natural predators or plant-based solutions to suppress weed growth; mechanical control, including mowing, mulching, or tilling techniques; and cultural control, such as crop rotation, cover cropping, and canopy management. Each method has its strengths and its challenges. That's why we'll also explore real-world case studies and scientific research that assess how effective these strategies are in vineyards. By the end of this module, you'll understand Integrated Weed Management Systems, or IWM, a smart, adaptable approach that blends multiple techniques to minimize reliance on herbicides. Weeds are more than just an eyesore. In agricultural systems, especially in perennial crops like grapevines, they compete with your vines for water, nutrients, sunlight, and space. Weeds can harbor pests and diseases, interfere with irrigation and harvesting, and drive up production costs. That's where herbicides come in. These are chemical substances designed to suppress or kill unwanted plants. Since the mid-20th century, synthetic herbicides like glyphosate, atrazine, and paraquat have been widely used in conventional farming. In viticulture, herbicides are often applied under the vine row to keep the area weed-free, cutting down on labor and helping maintain vine vigor and fruit quality. Herbicides have helped manage weeds effectively, but relying on them too much comes at a cost. Prolonged and repeated herbicide use can lead to herbicide-resistant weeds, soil degradation, and even harm to beneficial soil organisms. Not to mention the residues that may end up in our food and water systems. At the same time, more and more consumers are demanding organic and sustainable wines, putting pressure on growers to reduce or eliminate synthetic herbicides. This is where alternative weed management comes in, methods like mechanical, biological, cultural, and thermal techniques. Effective weed management means healthier vines, better yields, and lower costs. It's a vital part of successful grape growing. Herbicides have long been a go-to for weed control in agriculture, but their convenience comes with serious consequences. There are environmental issues. In viticulture, overuse of herbicides like glyphosate can lead to soil degradation, harming earthworms, nitrogen-fixing bacteria, and mycorrhizal fungi, key players in vineyard health. Water contamination is another concern. Residues can linger in aquatic ecosystems, threatening both wildlife and water quality. Then there's human health. Studies suggest links between herbicide exposure and risks like cancer, endocrine disruption, and chronic illness. And let's not forget herbicide resistance. So-called superweeds are emerging, requiring more chemicals and raising costs. These risks show why relying solely on herbicides is unsustainable. Integrated weed management and non-chemical alternatives offer a smarter, safer path forward, especially in sustainable viticulture. In vineyards, weeds do more than just crowd the landscape. They compete with grapevines for precious resources like water, nutrients, and light. But here's the challenge. We want to control weeds without disrupting the delicate balance that supports vine health and fruit quality. That's where sustainable weed management comes in. Modern viticulture is evolving beyond heavy herbicide use. Instead, we now integrate ecologically sound techniques like cover cropping, planting beneficial species between rows to outcompete weeds and boost biodiversity; mulching, applying organic layers that suppress weed growth and improve soil health; mechanical cultivation, physically removing weeds without chemicals; and even targeted grazing, where animals like sheep help manage vegetation naturally. These practices protect soil microbial life, enhance carbon sequestration, and support the resilience of the vineyard ecosystem, all while reducing chemical inputs. Effective, sustainable weed control also contributes to climate change mitigation, ecosystem services like water filtration and pollination, and improved long-term profitability for grape growers. In short, sustainable weed management isn't just good for the vines, it's good for the planet and the future of viticulture. Let's talk about herbicide resistance, a growing challenge in modern viticulture. Herbicide resistance happens when weeds evolve the ability to survive herbicide applications that once controlled them. How? Through selection pressure, using the same herbicide repeatedly allows naturally resistant weeds to survive, reproduce, and spread. This resistance develops from genetic variation in weed populations. A few rare individuals may carry mutations that help them break down or tolerate herbicides. In vineyards, common resistant weeds include Coniza bonariensis, hairy fleabane, Lolium rigidum, rigid ryegrass, and Amaranthus species. Over time, these weeds become harder to control, forcing growers to apply more chemicals, stronger products, or costly mixtures, raising both environmental and economic risks. The consequences are lower herbicide effectiveness, increased production costs, yield losses from unchecked weeds, greater chemical use and runoff, and fewer tools for organic and sustainable systems. So what's the solution? Integrated weed management, or IWM. That means rotating herbicide modes of action, using mechanical and cultural methods, planting cover crops and applying mulch, and reducing herbicide reliance overall. In recent years, consumer expectations have changed. People are demanding safer, more sustainable food and drink, and that includes wine. In viticulture, synthetic herbicides like glyphosate are under scrutiny. Concerns about health risks, environmental damage, and ethical food production are driving demand for residue-free or low-residue products. Wineries now face both a challenge and an opportunity. Growers are being encouraged to cut back or eliminate herbicide use, get certified organic or biodynamic, market wines as sustainably farmed or chemical-free. And there's payoff, higher prices, access to eco-conscious consumers, and stronger brand loyalty. So it's not just about health or the environment, it's also a smart business move. In today's market, residue-free isn't just good practice, it's good strategy. As awareness grows around the risks of synthetic herbicides, more farmers and grape growers are turning to alternative weed management strategies, methods that are both effective and environmentally responsible. These strategies aim to control weeds without harming crop productivity, and they form the core of what's called integrated weed management, a holistic approach that combines different tactics to keep weeds in check, using nature and smart tools rather than chemicals alone. There are four main categories of herbicide alternatives: mechanical like tilling or mowing, biological using natural predators or plant competition, cultural such as crop rotation or cover cropping, and thermal using heat or flame to kill weeds. Each method has its place, especially in viticulture, where balance is key. The first category of herbicide alternative is mechanical weed control, physically removing weeds using tools or machinery. In vineyards, this includes tillage, to uproot or bury weeds. Mowing or slashing to reduce competition and seed spread. Inter-row cultivation, managing weeds between vine rows. And undervine tools like finger weeders and brush hoes for precision work near trunks. The pros are immediate results and no chemical residues. On the contrary, the cons are that it can be labor-intensive and may disturb soil structure and increase erosion. Tools like the roll hacker and clever hoe systems offer high-precision weed removal, especially in European vineyards. Mechanical methods are a key part of sustainable weed management in viticulture. The second category of herbicide alternative is biological weed control. This method uses living organisms like grazing animals or insects to naturally suppress weeds. Take sheep, for example. They are increasingly used in vineyards during winter and early spring. They munch on weeds, leave the vines alone, and even fertilize the soil in the process. Geese have also been tested, especially for controlling grassy weeds, thanks to their selective appetite. Other approaches use natural enemies like rust fungi or beetles that target specific weed species. The pros? It's sustainable, often self-regulating, and reduces chemical use. But it's not perfect. It can be slow, species-specific, and needs careful planning to avoid disrupting the ecosystem. Still, when thoughtfully applied, biological weed control is a powerful tool for greener, cleaner viticulture. When it comes to weed control, sometimes the best offense is a good defense. That's the idea behind cultural weed control, the third category of herbicide alternative. These are cover crops like mustard, vetch, or ryegrass planted between vine rows. They compete with weeds for space, shade the soil, and even release natural compounds that suppress weed growth. Then there's mulching, applying straw, compost, or wood chips beneath the vines. It helps block sunlight, trap moisture, and improve soil health. Other cultural methods include canopy management, plant spacing, and timing, all designed to make crops more competitive and weeds less welcome. The benefits? It's preventative, improves soil biodiversity, and supports long-term sustainability. But it takes careful planning and may be less effective against aggressive perennial weeds. Still, for many vineyards, cultural control is a powerful, low-impact tool for keeping weeds in check while nurturing the soil. Welcome to thermal weed control, the fourth category of herbicide alternative. When chemicals aren't an option, heat can do the job. One common method is flame weeding, where open flames are directed at young weeds, bursting plant cells and killing them. It's used carefully in early spring, when vines are dormant and the risk of fire is lower. Another option? Steam or hot foam. These techniques are gaining popularity in fire-prone or sensitive areas, offering a safer, soil-friendly solution. Newer tech includes electric weeders like Zasso or Rootwave, which send electricity down to the weed roots, ideal for precision viticulture in places like Germany and Italy. Pros? It's non-chemical and can be mechanized, but it's also energy-intensive and requires careful handling to avoid fire hazards. Thermal tools are helping modern vineyards control weeds safely, sustainably, and with technology on their side. All four methods have specific strengths and limitations, but together they provide a powerful, flexible alternative to herbicides. In vineyards, these alternatives are increasingly used in combination to meet sustainability goals while maintaining weed control that protects grape yield and quality. When it comes to weed control, growers face an important choice: synthetic herbicides or alternative methods. Synthetic herbicides offer fast, effective, and low-cost short-term control. But they come with major trade-offs: soil degradation, high resistance risk, and environmental harm. Over time, weeds can become resistant and soil biology suffers. Alternative methods like mechanical, biological, cultural, and thermal techniques are often more labor-intensive and slower. But they bring long-term benefits: improved soil health, low resistance risk, and support for biodiversity. And with growing consumer demand for organic, residue-free products and regulatory pressure on chemicals, these sustainable approaches are gaining traction. Each method has pros and cons, but choosing wisely means balancing productivity, sustainability, and market expectations. There are several mechanical weed control methods. First, we have tillage, breaking and turning the soil with tools like discs or plows to uproot weeds. Next, there's mowing, used between vine rows to keep weeds short and prevent seed formation. For more precision, brush weeders use soft bristles to dislodge weeds under the vine row without harming the vines. And finally, there's undervine cultivation. Tools like finger weeders or torsion hoes help clear weeds in the hardest-to-reach spots. Mechanical methods are a key part of integrated weed management. When combined with cover crops or mulching, they offer a powerful, eco-friendly way to keep vineyards clean, productive, and sustainable. In modern viticulture, especially organic and premium wine production, mechanical weed control is becoming the method of choice. Unlike herbicides, these tools physically remove or disrupt weeds, delivering fast, visible results with no chemical residues. The benefits of mechanical weed control are: 1. Immediate effectiveness. You get real-time control. Weeds are cut, uprooted, or brushed away instantly. Timing? Totally in your hands. You can treat weeds based on growth stage, soil condition, or urgency, no waiting for chemical activation. And in high-pressure moments, like after a rainstorm, mechanical tools let you act immediately when you need it most. 2. Residue-free weed management. These methods leave no chemical traces on soil, fruit, or vine, making them ideal for organic certification and residue-free wine production. They also meet rising consumer demand for clean and sustainable products. Some additional benefits are that mechanical tools protect soil organisms, improve aeration, and pair perfectly with cover cropping and composting. Plus, unlike herbicides, they don't create resistant weeds. That's a win for long-term weed control. For growers focused on sustainability, soil health, and product purity, mechanical weed control isn't just an option, it's a smart investment. mechanical weed control is gaining traction for its sustainability and residue-free benefits. But it's not without its challenges, especially for organic and low-input vineyard systems. Let's take a closer look at two major hurdles: labor demands and soil disturbance. 1. Labor cost and operational demands. Unlike chemical herbicides, mechanical methods are labor-intensive. Skilled operators are needed to run precision tools like finger weeders or side-shift cultivators without damaging vines or irrigation lines. Timing is critical. Passes must align with weed growth stages, often requiring multiple runs in a single season. And let's not forget the fuel and upkeep. More hours in the field means higher fuel use and more wear on your equipment. 2. Soil disturbance and erosion risks. Mechanical cultivation, especially on slopes, can harm soil structure. Repeated machinery passes may compact the soil, especially when wet, limiting root growth and water absorption. On sloped land, tillage increases runoff and can strip away topsoil. It also disrupts soil microbiota, those essential organisms that help break down organic matter and maintain long-term fertility. Despite these challenges, mechanical weed control remains a powerful tool. Smart solutions like cover cropping, reduced pass systems, and automation, such as sensor-guided implements, can help make it more efficient and less damaging to your soil. Mulching is one of the oldest and most effective ways to manage weeds in vineyards naturally and sustainably. 1. Organic mulches come from natural biodegradable materials. Think straw, composted grape pomace, bark chips, even mowed cover crops or hay. These materials do more than just suppress weeds. As they break down, they enrich the soil, improving fertility and structure over time. The secret: sunlight. Mulch blocks the light that weeds need to germinate. 2. Synthetic mulches offer a longer-lasting alternative. We're talking black plastic sheets, woven fabrics, or even biodegradable films. These materials don't break down like organics, but they're great for reducing maintenance and keeping weeds at bay, especially in high-pressure zones. Just like with organics, the goal is to block sunlight and stop those weeds before they start. Mulching, whether organic or synthetic, is a powerful cultural practice in sustainable viticulture. It reduces herbicide use, conserves water, and supports healthy soil. Choose the right mulch based on your goals, your vineyard's needs, and your available resources. Looking to manage weeds sustainably in your vineyard? Let's talk about one of the most effective tools in the Organic Grower's Toolkit: cover cropping. Cover crops are non-cash plants, like legumes, grasses, or a mix that grow between or even beneath vine rows. They're not just ground cover, they're ground control. 1. Weed suppression through competition. Cover crops compete with weeds for key growth resources. Light, dense canopies block sunlight, stopping weed seeds from sprouting. Nutrients. Quick growers like rye or mustard pull nutrients from the soil fast, leaving little for weeds. Water. In dry climates, cover crops can outcompete weeds for moisture, though careful selection is key to avoid vine stress. Allelopathy. Some crops like rye and mustard even release natural chemicals that prevent weed seeds from germinating. The result? Less need for herbicides or tillage, especially in the off-season or early vine growth. 2. Types of cover crops used in viticulture. Legumes like clover, vetch, or medics. They fix nitrogen from the air and enrich the soil. The weed suppression is moderate but helpful as living mulch. Great for pollinators and soil structure. Grasses like ryegrass, barley, or oats. They grow fast and thick. The weed suppression is excellent, thanks to heavy shading and aggressive root systems. They also help with erosion control and build up organic matter. Mixtures combining legumes plus grasses. The best of both worlds: nutrient boost and weed suppression. Higher biodiversity and better soil function. Cover crops don't just fight weeds, they support the entire vineyard ecosystem. They build soil health, reduce herbicide use, and enhance biodiversity. That's why cover cropping is a cornerstone of sustainable agroecological viticulture worldwide. Did you know that the way you design and manage your vineyard can play a big role in weed control? It's not just about herbicides or mowing. Cultural practices like row spacing and canopy management also influence weed pressure and vineyard microclimate. 1. Row spacing and weed growth. Row spacing, the distance between vine rows, typically ranges from 1.5 to 3 meters. It's determined by factors like trellising system, machinery size, and slope. Why does it matter for weeds? Wider spacing allows more sunlight to reach the ground, fueling weed germination. Tighter spacing can create more shade, reducing light availability and slowing weed growth. 2. Canopy management and weed suppression. Canopy management means shaping how the vine grows, using tools like shoot thinning, pruning, leaf removal, and training systems. An open canopy lets in more sun and air, but it can also encourage weed growth. A well-managed, denser canopy can shade out weeds while still supporting fruit quality and airflow. Together, row spacing and canopy structure can significantly influence your vineyard floor environment. They're often overlooked tools in weed suppression, but they matter. By managing light, airflow, and equipment access, you can reduce weed pressure, cut back on herbicide use, and support a more ecologically resilient vineyard system. When we talk about weed control in vineyards, most people think of tillage, herbicides, or mulching. But what if we let nature do some of the work? Biological weed control uses living organisms like insects, fungi, or bacteria to manage weeds. It's all about harnessing natural predator-prey or pathogen-host relationships. 1. Insects as biological control agents. Certain insects feed on weeds, damaging their leaves, stems, or seeds. Over time, this reduces the plant's vigor and ability to reproduce. Some examples: beetles, moth larvae, and seed-feeding weevils have been used to control invasive species in other ecosystems, and now they're being studied for vineyard use too. 2. Fungi as mycoherbicides. Fungi can act as natural herbicides, infecting weeds with diseases that eventually kill or weaken them. This method is highly targeted and reduces the risk of harming beneficial plants or soil health. 3. Bacteria and bioherbicides. Some soil bacteria suppress weeds either through allelopathy, chemical inhibition, or by infecting weed roots. They're being developed into biological sprays or soil treatments for eco-friendly weed control. Biological weed control isn't a silver bullet, but it's a powerful addition to integrated weed management systems. When combined with cultural, mechanical, and mulching strategies, it helps reduce chemical inputs and promote biodiversity. Biological weed control holds exciting potential as a sustainable alternative to herbicides. But let's be honest, putting it into practice, especially in commercial vineyards, is not always simple. There are biological limitations. Most biocontrol agents are highly specific. They're designed to target just 1 or 2 weed species. That's great for precision, but not so helpful when your vineyard floor has a diverse weed population needing broad control. Moreover, there are regulatory constraints. Introducing a living organism into the environment? That takes time, research, and multiple layers of approval. The result? A long, expensive process to bring new biocontrols to market. There is farmers' adoption challenges. Let's face it, many growers need fast, broad-spectrum results. Biocontrols often take longer to show effects, and they aren't always easy to find. Plus, they must be compatible with existing equipment, climate conditions, and pest management programs. Finally, there is geographic and legal variation. Regulations don't stop at national borders. Each country, and sometimes each region, has its own framework for biocontrol use. What's legal and supported in one area might be restricted or unavailable in another. Bottom line, biological weed control is promising, but it's still a developing science, limited by biological, legal, and adoption barriers. Overcoming these challenges means investing in more research and development, creating streamlined science-based regulations, and educating growers about how and when to use these tools effectively. Tired of weeds but want to ditch the chemicals? Let's explore 2 cutting-edge paths in modern viticulture: thermal weed control and precision technology. 1. Flame weeding. Flame weeders use propane burners to blast heat, bursting plant cells and killing weeds. 2. Steam weeding. Superheated vapor cooks the weed tissue, no residues, no tillage. 3. Electric weeding. High-voltage electric pulses fry the plant from the inside, especially useful under vines. Now, let's go digital. Precision viticulture brings brains to the brawn of weed control. Smart cameras and sensors tell weeds from vines, automatically targeting the troublemakers. Robotics autonomous machines roam rows to zap or slice weeds, no operator needed. Precision tools, like GPS and variable rate application, apply treatment only where needed, saving time, inputs, and money. From heat to high tech, these innovations are transforming vineyard weed control cleaner, smarter, and more sustainable. In sustainable viticulture, many growers are turning to a smarter, holistic strategy for weed control, the integrated weed management. Integrated weed management means combining multiple weed control techniques, mechanical, cultural, biological, and even chemical or digital, into one coordinated strategic plan. An integrated weed management plan is tailored to integrate diverse methods to reduce weed pressure, minimize environmental and health risks, and reduce the chance of weed resistance and soil degradation. Integrated weed management isn't about choosing one tool. It's about using the right combination, at the right time for the right conditions. The result? Healthier soils, fewer chemicals, and more resilient vineyards ready to adapt to climate pressures, labor limits, and shifting market demands. In the move towards sustainable viticulture, weed control without herbicides isn't just possible, it's profitable, ecological, and market smart. Some of the benefits are 1. Reduction in chemical input costs. Herbicides can be expensive, especially when applied frequently or at scale. By switching to mechanical, cultural, thermal, or biological methods, vineyard managers can significantly reduce recurring costs and avoid the rising burden of regulatory compliance. 2. Preservation of soil health and microbial life. Healthy soils are living soils. Synthetic herbicides can disrupt microbial biodiversity, alter soil chemistry, and even reduce long-term vine performance. But non-herbicide methods like cover cropping, mulching, or biological controls support a thriving soil ecosystem that benefits vine health and yield. 3. Marketability of organic or low-residue wine. More consumers today want wine that's clean, low residue, and environmentally responsible. Non-herbicide practices are essential for organic certification and help producers position their wines in premium markets. It's a sustainability decision and a smart marketing move. 4. Improved ecosystem services, pollination, and natural pest control. Using non-chemical weed control methods helps preserve habitat for pollinators and beneficial insects. This supports essential services like natural pest control, pollination, and overall vineyard resilience. Healthier ecosystems create stronger, more balanced vineyards. Non-herbicide weed control methods are gaining momentum for their environmental and marketing benefits. But let's be real, they also come with a set of challenges that vineyard managers must navigate. 1. Labor-intensive practices. Without herbicides, vineyard weed control often becomes more labor-dependent. We're talking multiple passes with mowers, cultivators, or even hand tools. In regions with labor shortages, high wages, or tough terrain, this can strain resources and limit scalability. 2. High initial equipment investment. Non-herbicide approaches usually need specialized machinery, like undervine cultivators, flame weeders, or sensor-guided tools. Upfront costs can be significant, especially for small to mid-sized vineyards. That means careful budgeting and long-term cost-benefit analysis are crucial. 3. Weed regrowth and timing challenges. Unlike herbicides, which often suppress weeds at the root, non-chemical methods control the visible growth, not always the underground parts. This means you'll need to time interventions carefully. Mechanical and thermal methods, in particular, require precision and repeat visits to stay ahead of regrowth. It's a challenge in both planning and labor coordination. Imagine vineyards where weeds are managed without herbicides, where smart machines roam the rows, and where sustainability isn't just a goal, it's a global priority. The future of weed control in viticulture is becoming autonomous and intelligent. Robotic weeders use cameras, sensors, and precision tools to mechanically or thermally remove weeds without harming the vines. And thanks to AI-powered detection, these machines can now distinguish between crops and weeds with incredible accuracy. This means less herbicide use, lower labor costs, and more targeted, sustainable vineyard management. Across Europe, cutting-edge innovation is being driven by EU-funded research projects. These initiatives focus on herbicide-free vineyard systems, exploring robotic cultivation, precision agriculture, and biodiversity-focused pest management. The goal? To build vineyard systems that are ecologically resilient and economically viable. The EU farm-to-fork strategy is a central pillar of the European Green Deal. Its mission: a food system that is healthier, more sustainable, and less dependent on synthetic chemicals. More specifically, by 2030, it aims to reduce pesticide use by 50%. Through smart policies, funding incentives, and public-private partnerships, the EU is pushing for a future where clean, herbicide-free agriculture becomes the norm, not the exception. Weed control is practiced according to the principles of organic farming in a study case winery located in Tuscany. Podere Le Cinciole, one of the founders of the Biodistretto del Chianti Association. The philosophy of the winery is deeply rooted in collaboration, innovation, and respect for the surrounding environment. By establishing strong relationships with local institutions, technicians, and neighboring producers, the owners have managed to create a network that supports both environmental sustainability and economic resilience, knowledge, and enthusiasm, leading to continuous implementation of practices. The following slides will illustrate the weed control methods adopted by the farm to avoid the use of chemical herbicides by the adoption of very simple mechanical tools. The objectives of ground cover management are manifold and aimed at achieving a better balance between vegetative growth and yield. With regard to the contribution of organic matter, a stable, non-competitive natural ground cover generally ensures a good degree of self-sufficiency. This can be integrated with plant-based compost produced directly on the estate. A permanent cover crop can also control and compete with unwanted weeds, contributing to reducing the effort to be spent in weed control. To establish a well-structured permanent ground cover, in our study case estate, the sowing of seed mixture with pioneer species is practiced to initiate effective vegetative coverage, along with the application of composted manure or an organic soil amendment rich in phosphorus. In case some part of the vineyards presents degraded grass cover, the farmer operates with seeding to integrate and re-establish a flourish vegetation. To allow the vineyard to coexist effectively with cover crops, autumn soil aeration operations are essential, along with timely mechanical under-row tillage operations throughout the growing season. Atlas Cinciole, a fixed-frame tool composed by a single shank implement equipped with a single tine positioned on the side closest to the vine row, and a stabilizing wheel to keep the tool properly aligned during operation on the opposite side. The use of this simple tool is essential both in newly established vineyards, where it helps accumulate heat and oxygenate the root zone, and in mature vineyards, where it serves to control early season grass growth and prepare the ground for the subsequent work of the undervine blade by shaping the row mound and reducing vegetation near the vine trunks. As a result, this tool reduces significantly management costs, facilitating the maintenance of spontaneous cover crops in the interrow and reducing the number of under-row passes needed with a blade or roll hacks.